when do you think is the best time to cry? Have your cry hour, maybe in the
Night.
morning, afternoon, night?
Night. Because it's after you finish your stuff and then you have like an existential crisis at like 11 to 2 a.m. Like that's when I dissociate, you know? My soul like goes out of my body and then I question like whether I'm real, you know? That's how
Oh
it be.
gosh.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yeah, it's 11, so it should be the time, but the fact that I'm talking to people and therefore making connection with other people, like I think keeps that at bay.
Yeah, but what's keeping you from like knowing that we're not just illusions?
There's nothing, but there's no point in stressing over it, which is what I think like 23 hours of the day, and then the last hour is dedicated to me thinking about it.
I don't know, man. You guys could be like holograms, but I just came off an 8-hour shift, so it's like it's above me right now.
It
Ew,
doesn't
shit.
matter if somebody's an illusion as long as you vibe, you know?
What if it's an artificial vibe? I'm kind of into the organic stuff.
Doesn't matter as long as you get enjoyment out of it. It's your life, it's your experience.
Unless we're like in that brain in a vat thing and we're all just like brains hardwired to a supercomputer.
We're Matrixing.
Yeah, we're mixing.
I've never seen The Matrix. I should see The Matrix.
I think it's overrated. I watched it. You know, Keanu Reeves, he did his thing, but other than that, yeah,
Is Keanu
I
Reeves
wouldn't watch it
actually
again.
hot? Like people
Who?
treat him as if Keanu Reeves. People treat him as if he's like super hot, but I don't think. I think he's like okay.
Oh, I mean,
But
I
it's
don't know.
like,
He gives off dad vibes.
no, but I was gonna say, like, I think people like Keanu Reeves in the same way that people like Benedict Cumberbatch, because like
Neither of them are attractive. Oh,
whoa,
Benedict Cumberbatch is even less so.
whoa. At
well-
least at some point in time, Keanu Reeves was an attractive man. There was never a point in time in which Benedict Cumberbatch's face was something that people were attracted to. People
Actually, you're actually
but
right.
it's not the face; it's like the entire package.
It's the
What
homoerotic
package?
Sherlock, you know?
I don't know.
Why would anyone? I'm completely confused. Why would anyone want to screw Sherlock? Unless you're
Because he's
watching-
smart.
So was Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. But he's like smart and also like homoerotic, which people really liked in the year of our Lord 2016 or whatever.
Yeah, he's like an older soft boy.
He's the white man of the month, but instead of the month it was like 3 months. He was the white man of the month. Like people, okay.
He was never the white man of the month. He was never. No.
He was the white man.
I could say Cole Sprouse was, Ross Lynch. I could even say that one guy from Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. But maybe if we're on like the metric system calendar, if that's a thing, that was where he was the white boy of the month. But it's like, I just every time I think of his face.
But I don't think he's hot, but a lot of people do, and you have to just support it, you know?
You know, I can get behind
sometimes
that.
People have rights, and sometimes that right extends to the white boy of the month.
Only sometimes. They only have rights sometimes.
Who is your inner white boy of the month?
I would argue that if their white boy of the month is Benedict Cumberbatch, then their
standard.
rights should be taken away.
Well, that's a lot
Hot
of
take.
people. It's a lot of people that you're canceling at once. It's a mass cancel, bro. It's like Jesus in the flood, God in the flood.
Well, even though this is where
it's funky.
I'm like chaotic good when it comes to
So you like canceling?
No. Whoa. Let's not do generalizations. What I'm saying is that like some people deserve to be canceled, but like cancel culture should be used as a punishment, not a death sentence, you know? Like
yeah, it's nuanced.
There are some people who deserve to be canceled for a long time. Like Woody Allen, you know, he like kind of married his adoptive daughter. You deserve to be canceled for that. But there are some people who it's like when they were younger, they made a joke that was like, and there are some jokes where I'm like, you were like 19 when you made that joke.
Like Mr. Beast's history of speaking slurs, even though he doesn't do it anymore or something like that. Like
whoa, okay, wait, I don't watch Mr. Beast, but it when it comes to slurs, it's something different because like
but he did not understand the weight of his slur.
Well, how old was he? Because they always say
5 years
that they
ago
don't
or something like that.
5 years ago? Dude,
I don't know. I have no idea. Wait, let me just like look.
Nah, because like there's sometimes where it's like the person was 13 and like maybe they said the N-word and I'm like, okay, you're 35 now.
Oh, like, he made homophobic comments, but he previously. Okay, wait, let me actually look this. I think canceling is good, but you should do your research before you just bandwagon onto it.
There are some people who get canceled and then they get doxxed, and I'm like, that's not going to teach them not to say the N-word. That's just going to endanger their lives. But I don't like it how, like, people will be like, she needs to, like, they won't punish, there won't be any consequences. People are like, you need to teach her that's not the right thing to do when the person's like 24. And I'm like, you say that you need to teach them, but there are like black men and black women who are 15 years old getting life sentences and charged as an adult, and we're not saying you need to teach them that what they're doing is wrong. You're just giving them maximum punishment. So I just always get upset when it's like, you know,
Slurs.
you have these, it's slurs, it's other stuff. I mean, you see this with Shane Dawson, where he's like done blackface, probably had sex with his cat, definitely a pedophile, says the N-word all the time.
Okay, let me present this Mr. Beast case. Okay, this is only over Twitter, where he made a couple tweets like in which he used the F slur in a it seems like he was making jokes or like.
Well, he's not gay or.
Yeah, he's not gay.
He's not.
And this happened in 2016.
Community,
so for 3-4 years ago, before he got like really really popular.
But he was like, how old is Mr. Beast?
Like 20s. I don't know.
Is he 20 or is he like 24?
How old is Mr. Beast? How?
Because I'm just like,
I think he's 22.
He's 22. 4 years ago, he would have been 18. Dude, no. Like,
really?
There's a certain age you reach where it's like, when you make a mistake, you're an adult. I would even say that if you start saying the N-word when you're like 16, you're not 10. Like, you have gone through world history, American history, who knows how many times. You've probably, I would hope, come in contact with other Black people, learned about Black history. Like, honestly, it took me until I got on TikTok and other like predominantly white social media corners that I was like, are you telling me that like some people actually don't understand the gravity of slurs? Not just the N-word, but any other slur.
They don't.
Because I'm just like, I was getting taught by my dad at like 5 years old about how like slave women got their stomachs ripped open and like lynched, and meanwhile these kids are like, I just feel like if you don't want people to say the N-word, maybe don't put it in the songs. And I'm just like, okay, but I feel like, you know, maybe out of the hundreds of thousands of words in the English lexicon, you could just not say this one. And they're kind of like, I don't think I can do that.
Why not?
Exactly. That's what I would ask them.
Use a different slur. I mean, you can use all the common ones.
Wait, what?
Like bitch or shit or fuck. I mean, like there's common ones that everyone can use. Just use those.
Use a different slur.
Yeah, like using like a slur doesn't make you special or like different than people who use vanilla slurs, you know?
I mean, but some
vanilla curse words.
Some people's sense of humor is just being offensive. They're like, I have a dark sense of humor, and it's like, no, you're well,
those aren't
racist.
People that you should have in your life.
Yeah, like
they're just baby reactionaries. That's what they are.
Oh yeah, people are terrible. It's so annoying. Cause it's like you can't give people a moral compass. They have to develop their own. So like if you explain to someone that, hey, saying that all Black people are thugs and criminals naturally and that they're predisposed to being stupider than white people, that's not really a joke. That's you making a racially charged statement.
Yeah.
But they're always like, why are you being so sensitive? I hate snowflakes.
Okay.
Screw liberals.
Can I present this scenario to you and then you tell me whether it's racist or not? So, okay, my friend, he is Asian, and he said, I would like to be reborn as a Black man because I will have a bigger dick and be good at basketball.
Okay,
that is what he said.
That is very racist. Gosh. I mean, imagine if I said...
Being tall doesn't mean... Okay, I can argue that if you are born Black, then there's a higher chance that you will be good at basketball because there is a very, very diverse basketball community developed.
I would disagree with that argument, but let's go on.
Okay, wait. I don't know. Then, like, for example, the Asian community doesn't have probably as prominent or well-known of a basketball community as the Black community as of current. I don't know.
I would just, like, I don't want to end this conversation, but I would, like, make a very solid point in this conversation that, like, being Black being a certain color does not make you predisposed to anything.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Yes.
this idea that there's a larger basketball community. If I seek out basketball, then yes, there will be a large basketball community. But I could easily be Black in the middle of Iowa, and there's not going to be basketball courts for miles. There's nothing about me or any other Black person having dark skin.
It's super circumstantial, and also like being born a specific race does not predispose you to anything.
I just feel like if they did want to mention that, they could have just left the Black thing out of it entirely. Like, I don't know why they mentioned that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, describe how it's racist would be like if I said, I wish I was born Asian so I would be better at math and better at cooking rice. Like, you could easily be good at math and great at cooking rice no matter
if you were rich.
No matter what race you are. I just think it's taking ridiculous stereotypes. And I would imagine that your friend wasn't being serious, because if he was being serious, that would be concerning.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. He just told me to chill out, which kind of like oof.
Oh my god, bro. I hate when people. I hate when like you tell someone that you're upset about something and their immediate reaction is to invalidate your feelings.
The way that I like to deal with it is like I usually make them explain the joke to themselves. Like instead of saying I'm offended, I'm like, wait, I don't get it, and then I get them to explain it, and then as soon as they do, they're always like, wait, that's not really funny. It's really nice.
Yeah, like imagine just like, why would you think that would make your dick bigger? And then he'd probably be like, well, Black guys have big dicks, and then you'd have to be like,
why do they have
Black
big
guys
dicks?
Oh, I would say, how many Black guys' dicks have you been seeing, friend?
Before they can tell you like you're not taking the joke well, just make them realize that their joke is shitty. Boom.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know why every single guy thinks they deserve like a Netflix special and just like 100,000 people at their comedy stand-up, but most guys aren't funny, especially guys who are like, women aren't funny.
Well, that might also just be because you don't have many, you're like have fewer guy friends.
No, I have most of my friends are male, but
sexy. That's sexy as shit.
They're not that attractive, but yeah.
No, just the fact that I don't know, I just desire more male friends because I want to be validated by society.
Male friend, if you have, well,
I know male friends are overrated.
No, I was gonna say, I don't know about your male friends, but I don't get any validation from mine.
No, it's just the fact that I want to be accepted as male in a male community.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
But I don't. Yeah. I know it's like not a good thing to, I don't know, whatever. Thoreau can validate me. You don't have to break away from the constraints that society puts onto you. You just have to recognize that it exists. What? Yo.
But a lot of people have been getting canceled as of like this week. Honestly, this summer. Corona has really exposed a lot of people.
People are bored with nothing to do. They want drama.
Madison.
Hey, it's not always about... Do not get me started on Madison.
No, but canceling is kind of a bandwagon because you can see like you feel better about yourself because you feel like you're the perpetrator of justice because you're holding other people responsible for the horrid actions which they may or may not have done because you may or may not have done your research and you just.
Well, no, Madison Beer is pretty obvious, but
who's Madison Beer? Can someone explain?
Oh
okay.
My God!
Oh,
thank God you do not know who she is.
Sorry, I don't have TikTok downloaded because CCP.
Okay, so Madison Beer, she's like a singer. She's gorgeous, but basically, I remember that the biggest hype around her was the fact that she was at a Black Lives Matter protest. You can't see me holding up quotation marks, but she basically had a photo shoot in the middle of the protest where she had like an entire cameraman and she was standing on a car while everyone else was like in the heat protesting. She was like having her own photo shoot and like then I heard that she just dipped right after and people have it like on camera, her just like posing on a car holding a Black Lives Matter stuff for clout and then like that's
gross.
That is just the tip of the iceberg.
That is like the most performative, that's like big performative.
That's like the definition.
The reverse Jake Paul BLM scenario.
Okay, besides using BLM as a trend and a photo shoot to get herself, I guess, clout, yeah. She
I love constantly Black people. Wow.
She constantly lies about her like getting work done on her face because if you look at photos from her from like a couple years ago, she has no lips, and that's not being mean. She literally has no lips. But now she has like the fullest lips ever. She's like
Okay, but like,
a
what's
sex
the issue?
icon.
Is
And the
okay.
issue about that is because she has a very very high following. She has millions of followers and a ton of girls who are dying to look like her. There's so many girls who are like, I want to look like Madison Beer, and there are a ton of guys who are like, I want girls to look like Madison Beer. And the danger in that is that it's very, very problematic and detrimental to have an icon or someone that you aspire to be who isn't natural, who's made up of plastic surgery and all that type of stuff, because it's unattainable, right? I don't have thousands of dollars to make my body look like that, but she's lying and saying that's how I naturally look, which makes girls feel bad that they can't naturally look like that. And if she would just become clean,
the natural beauty standards.
Yeah, like at least Kylie Jenner's like, yeah, I've gotten work done, I've gotten lip fillers, because you know,
that's
if
the
she
thing. No one says I want to look like Kylie Jenner because they know that they could buy like the face that she has. The thing about Madison Beer is that everyone's like, oh my god, she's so pretty, and it's all natural until people started finding inconsistencies.
Yeah, because it creates a beauty standard for women that they can't attain.
Super candid. Also,
and like
recently,
an expectation for women, you know.
Yeah, recently. So you guys know the book Lolita?
Yes.
The birth of the word lolly.
Yeah, so she basically said on her live and on her Twitter that she ships the relationship between the 12-year-old and the stepdad. And then when people were saying, hey, that's like a 12-year-old and a 48-year-old, you might not want to do that. She was like, guys, I don't care. I like that it's like a forbidden relationship, okay? And people were like, you're romanticizing pedophilia. And she was like, I don't really see it like that. And I'm like, the girl was not even in high school. She was 12.
Yeah, and like in cases like this, I do feel that the social media people, all these crusaders, should be the ones to like take it upon themselves to call them out. But like with a lot of high-profile celebrities and a lot of high-profile politicians, I don't think that Twitter vigilante justice is really going to do much for them. But like with people that like have social media as their realm, like people can just have at it because that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's really true. Like, so online celebrities, yes. But if people, I was trying to get this guy canceled a couple weeks ago, for example, and I was told that his company kind of sucks at, or like doesn't have a specific transparent political message or social agenda, and they don't really care. So, you know, those people you can't really cancel, but online celebrities you can.
Well, I would say that that's part of the depth of cancel culture, because there's the part where people actually do get canceled, but there's the part where problematic people don't get canceled. And I think that we should try to look at that latter half. You know how you see a lot of celebrities, most often white, who will do egregious things, and the community that they offend, usually racial communities, will be like, that was really messed up. I don't think that you should have the platform that you have. But their large, usually white fan base will say, get over it. Like, for example, I know that you're not on TikTok, right? But this guy named Mattia, he's always saying the N-word. He's always using the F slur. He's very homophobic. And a lot of people from the gay and black community are just like, why do you all still watch Mattia? He's shown himself to be racist.
Is he the Christian man who was just like, abortion is not okay? Is it that guy?
I know.
The white boy?
No, he's a 16-year-old Italian guy.
Oh, never mind.
Some people find attractive. I don't, but anyway. And so a lot of people on TikTok, usually POCs and queer people, they say, don't watch Mattia. He's problematic. He's not using his platform for good, and he's just really bigoted. But guess what? This man still has millions of followers, still gets millions of likes and views, because the people who back him up are always saying, it was one time, guys, you need to get over it. Like, slavery was 400 years ago, even though it wasn't.
And it's just crazy seeing like the contrast between that and the people that do use their platform for good. So like those people that were trying to infiltrate, was it like a Trump rally or something, and they made like fake RSVP lists or something that was like all on like K-pop stans on Twitter and TikTokers, like things like that. So things that like actually make a tangible difference. But this stuff's just like a whole, like, dare I say, circle jerk online, or where they're just trying to cancel people with like, yeah, it's just really questionable.
Did you guys see Sky Jackson's Twitter where she was basically saying, tell me any racist person's been in your school and show me proof, and then I'll expose them. And so she would literally take any person that like said the N-word or anything racist, and she would like contact their school or like tweet at their school that they're supposed to go to in the fall and be like, I didn't know that you guys accepted racist students. And then usually the students would get their acceptance rescinded, which I was like, I mean,
they're kids.
No,
Right?
that's no. They were usually like these were people who were like about to go to college, so like they're either 17 or 18.
I think that's still a little young to be canceled because you just became an adult, and you don't, you know.
I mean, I'm not going to jail. I mean, I guess I'm kind of biased because, you know, when someone, like, for example, there are these two kids who made this TikTok where it was like, oh, how to make a Black person. And it was like, oh, put a little bit of not having a dad, put a little bit of going to jail, put a little bit of being stupid. And then people sent that video to their college and their acceptances were rescinded. And I would say, again, I understand that people are young, but we also have to accept the fact that like we're the same age as these kids. And in fact, we're actually not. Those kids are older than us.
Okay, I looked it up. Okay, she doxed a 13-year-old.
That's what I was gonna get to.
Yeah, that's not really cool. That's not cool, man.
Which I was hearing mixed things because I was either hearing that she did or that her fans did. But I didn't hear.
Don't do it. Yeah, that's consensus. Not really cool.
It doesn't really matter either way. People shouldn't be doxxed, and that's when it went too far. Like sending information. If the account is public and they're being openly racist on their public account, you have every right to send that to their college admissions. Because I saw this one post where it was like, you cannot let your future doctors, your future lawyers, your future employers be able to go to college when you know that from this young age they are being racist, homophobic, transphobic, etc., you name it, and they're not being reprimanded for it. So that's why I don't really agree that, oh, they were so young, because if you don't stop them now, when are you going to stop them? When they can vote, when they can, you know, teach their children the same values? But you should have posted their address or their phone number online.
I feel like they definitely deserve punishment. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not sure. Like, it's like getting your acceptance rescinded is essentially saying that you can't go to college and your life is kind of screwed. And I definitely agree they deserve to be punished. And I'm not saying this like, okay, like for example, even if someone were to be Islamophobic, I'm not sure. Like, is it the best course of action essentially ruining their life? And yeah, it's definitely a horrible, horrible thing to say racial slurs. But let's say that a few weeks later they realize, or like even a few like months later, I'm not sure. Like,
the thing is, like, it's hard to tangibly like measure that, and at the same time it isn't really ruining their lives because there's still like unconventional paths to college that people take.
But they're
all the
unconventional.
Time. Yeah, they're not conventional, but what they did was also pretty unconventional.
I think it's pretty normal.
No, they felt comfortable enough to call people the N-word, say terrible things about various groups of people, and they did it online where it was traceable. Keep in mind, these were public Instagram accounts where it was easy enough for anybody to take a screenshot and send to their colleges. We have to keep in mind, and this is where, like, you know, the different sides of this debate become really, really distinct. We have to recognize that your actions have consequences. These are 18-year-olds we're talking about. These aren't like people who are about to enter middle school. These are, in the eyes of the United States and many other countries, adults. Being rescinded from one college will not ruin your life. You can go to community college. Most kids do. In fact, when we talk about these different things about how, oh, they were young, I have to go back to my previous statement. There are so many Black and brown kids who don't get a second chance. They don't get any chance. And we don't say, well, they were a kid, we just let them be fed to the slaughter. So if you do racist things, if you do homophobic things, in a public light and you felt it was safe and okay for you to do that, then something needs to happen to teach you that that's not okay for you to do in the open, or at all, to be quite frank. I'm not saying being doxxed, but
I think that college rejection is really, really harsh. I don't know. I'm thinking of myself being rejected from the colleges I want to go to. I think that would be really harsh for me.
yeah, but you're not racist,
not even
are
rejections. It's not even like they
But I feel like I'm not racist because I was privileged enough to go to a community that taught me to not be racist. Because
It's not a
my
privilege
elementary school
to not
career, I
be-
grew up very homophobic. And if it weren't for me moving to a specific place in a specific community, I would grow up this way.
But
No,
it's
I
not a
agree.
privilege to not be racist. It's I would say that it's a choice. I feel like you're not allowing people to take responsibility for their actions. It's not an illness. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that you're taught and it can be unlearned. If you're unwilling to see races as equal to yourself, if you're unwilling to say that queer people deserve rights, if you're unwilling to say that people who are immigrants deserve every right to become a citizen of the United States like you are, that's not some inherited thing that you can't get rid of. That's a choice. And
Okay,
once you start
first of
becoming an
all-
adult, that is a choice that you can no longer be able to make because it'll start to hurt others.
Okay, first of all, the immigrant thing, that is actually a big political like controversy. So like that, I mean, I share your standpoint on that. But I don't think it's like immigration as much. I just wanted to point that out. Second of all, I feel like okay. I'm just trying to imagine this like from the person's perspective, and I am totally against racism. And if you want, I can even do this in like a way that targets my own like culture. So let's say that someone gets into their dream college. Let's say that's like Harvard or something. They got in, they're super, super happy. They go to a huge party, they get drunk, and then they're just joking around. They're like saying slurs. And I'm not justifying this. And then someone else, like one of their friends, is like, yo, put it on TikTok. We're gonna get so much clout. Harvard, everyone's gonna know us, that kind of thing. And then they put it onto TikTok. Or like, for example, they're drunk, or even if they're sober, like they're just like in the wrong mindset. And then they do that action. And then 2 days later, they get a call from Harvard saying that your acceptance has been rescinded. And I agree that would be totally fair. But then the fact is that they can't go to any other, like, for example, they wouldn't even be able to go to like, a good like state university or
But
anything.
I feel like this is really limited to like, just to preface for everybody listening, this is coming from the standpoint of like people that belong to the very niche community that's super into college admissions, and not everyone really sees college as like this thing to have like a state school or something, like I'm sorry, like this thing to aspire to. And so like in most cases when these things happen, they don't happen to a lot of high achieving students, and those definitely do need to be treated on a case by case basis. But it just seems like this hypothetical is a bit too limited to really like comment on the issue.
Yeah, I would also say that Maham, I wouldn't say exact, but the scenario that you're bringing up has happened. In fact, I believe it was 2 years ago in 2018, a student that was accepted to Harvard had his acceptance rescinded because he filmed a video of calling his classmates N-word jocks and other things. And I would say that how you look at this situation depends on how you look at slurs and racism as a concept. Do you look at it as just opinions, beliefs, or do you look at it as abuse? Because this is why I'm kind of like at a loss at this argument, because it's like, when your belief gets to the point where you're saying that other people are inferior, or that other people don't deserve the same respect, or that other people don't deserve the same rights, it's not an opinion anymore. That's why when you said before that the topic of immigration is political, I have to disagree, because you saying that people who aren't criminals, who just want to become a citizen, for you to say that that is not a choice they deserve to have isn't political. You're taking the right of somebody. That's a human right for you to be able to go to another country. And that's like already stated by the United Nations. You should be able to freely go and become a citizen or apply to become a citizen, even if you might get denied, but you should have the right to apply to become a citizen of any country. You shouldn't be denied that based on anything other than criminality or things like that. So when it becomes a certain thing where they're disrespecting you as a person, they're disrespecting you based on trivial attributes, or they're saying that you don't deserve the same rights, that's not an opinion anymore. And that's why I feel like if you have those thoughts, then something needs to happen to show you that's not right. It's unfortunate that they need to take away your college admission to show you that, but I would say that if you've reached 18 years of your life and you still don't understand that, and keep in mind, most of these kids, they consume Black media, they consume Black music, they try to be Black, whether it is taking our culture, taking our clothes, taking the way that we talk. They try to do all these things, but they still have the same racist attitudes. It would take you 18 years until someone takes away your college admissions for you to understand that it's not right for you to disrespect people based on their race, sexual orientation, gender, whatever. Then I'm sorry, but that's what needs to be happening.
Okay, I want to make a few clarifications. First of all, like I'm just quickly, I agree with the immigration statement. I was just saying that is to an extent a little bit political, just because there are like all these immigration laws and like ICE and everything in place. So yeah, that I just wanted to clarify that really quickly. And second of all, yeah, I agree, but at the same time, like, shouldn't there be a way for them to redeem themselves?
I agree that human rights issues are very serious and probably deserve a form of punishment. But I also think that these people are in a place where they don't think that the slurs they're using have this abuse implication, and they haven't been exposed to a community like college where they can see for themselves how much their words can impact others. I don't think that canceling their college is the right way to go about it.
I mean, yeah, to each their own. That's just something that we'll have to agree to disagree on. I would say that I feel like, I don't want to use the word naive, but I feel like it's a bit inaccurate to say that every single racist person comes from a very closed-minded community, because that's not true. Many racist people go to predominantly minority schools. Many racist people live in New York, Boston, you name it. They live in communities where they have to share spaces with people of different colors. And that's why I feel like saying that, every single racist person was raised by racist people, that's not even true, to be really frank with you. So, again, we'll have to agree to disagree. You have every right to think that college admission rescinding isn't the way to go. I do think it's a bit harsh, but again, harsh behavior leads to harsh consequences.
Wait, so you believe that people who say slurs genuinely believe that the groups that they're slurring are inferior, and that gives them the power to use the slurs against them?
I believe that's the case in some instances. Other instances, it might just be that they're really ignorant, because if you in any case are using a slur, it has to come from a place of ignorance and disregard for the meaning and history behind the word that you're using.
Yeah, I agree with the ignorance part, and I think that, there should be more to do with helping acknowledge the ignorance and correct that through exposure with different communities or the actual community. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to ask, what would be your alternative? Because there are people, I mean, what would be your alternative? I guess I'm just gonna let you answer, because I can't really think of anything else.
I mean, there's definitely like stuff that is less harsh. Okay, wait. Okay, let's think of like other stuff that would get you kicked out of school, right? Like plagiarism. Like, do you think saying a slur because you're ignorant is equal to intentionally plagiarizing a document and passing it off as your own? Like, do you think, would you rate those
My
things?
problem with this question is that the question poses that people just say one slur and they're out of college. Often it's them saying more than just the N-word, though that will definitely put you on probation, but it's usually them saying other things. Like, for example, there's this kid that goes to a school near mine where he didn't say the N-word, but he was saying things like George Floyd deserved to die. I don't think that he was really choking. How can you choke? How can you be choking if you're saying, I can't breathe? Maybe if he wasn't so intimidating, the police wouldn't have felt that they needed to react that way. Maybe if he wasn't, a drug abuser, he wouldn't have been in that position. See, the N-word is not used anywhere there, but you and I can both appreciate that the language that he's using is ignorant, the language that he's using is racially charged, and the language that he's using is abuse in some capacity, which is why—
I agree, yeah.
Which is why I'm pretty sure, I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure that his acceptance to his university was rescinded because he, one, felt that he could say this in public. He said this on a public account, and it was then sent to his colleges. So, this argument that, okay, I mean, if you really want to hear my honest opinion, you saying very heinous things and plagiarizing, yeah, those are two things that should get you kicked out of a university.
I think that guy, like, you can see how ingrained it is in him, from like how he was raised, I guess, or the environment that he was in, and he genuinely believes it.
I feel like when you asked about an alternative, I feel like that's the kind of thing where I'm not sure if punishment is the best way than like something like rehabilitation.
But do you think re-education actually works? Like, how effective do you, like, this is why we're talking about
it's gonna be more hate. They're gonna have that hatred in them, and they're gonna just keep that hatred. They're gonna be like, wow, like okay, like don't get me wrong, but like, wow, because of this community, my life is over. Like, it's like they have that. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like
are they gonna become racial incels? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, no, not for sure. It's a possibility. I feel like more than anything, something like rehabilitative, where like they have to work with like the Black community or do like community service for like even like 1,000 hours of community service within the next year type thing, or like, okay, that was a really big number, but you know what I mean, like something more that would fix their mindset rather than just punishing them. And I feel
but
like
you kind of read like what you're saying is like kind of describing like prison sentences or like actual like law sentences for being racist. Keep in mind, you cannot arrest people for saying the N-word, but if an institution like, let's say Harvard, which is very liberal, decides we don't want racist students at our institution, they have every right to decide that. And like, I'm just going to come from the side of someone who has experienced racism from the Black standpoint. Like, when people are racist, my first instinct shouldn't be, oh, well, they didn't mean it, they didn't know what they were saying, or, oh, it's my duty to re-educate them. Because, again, why is it my job to basically, I don't want to say help, but
it's not your burden. It's not your responsibility to educate.
It's not. Yeah, you're right.
It's their responsibility,
But this argument kind of sounds like they're not responsible for their actions.
I think it's really, really hard to erase something or like re-educate someone who's had this ingrained in them for like 18 years. So I agree on punishment, and also all the alternatives we have kind of suck right now. So actually, I'm more on the side of canceling their college than anything else because we have like no good alternatives right now. I think punishment is more effective than re-education because it's really hard to do that in people, especially if they're young.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of hard to have this argument because we're talking about people who are teenagers. But keep in mind, this happens to adults as well.
My parents, somebody's parents.
Like you have a lot of adults.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you have a lot of adults who say racist.
I feel like it should be comprehensively taken, though. I feel like it should be that, okay, what was the situation, like what was the full situation? Was it like was it like they said the N-word like one time and it was like a one-time thing and it just like blew up? Or
I feel like people who say the N-word have it kind of as a habit, like how you swear.
But the thing is, like, I think in this situation we need to stop treating these institutions like they're Twitter crusaders, because they're not. Like, more often than not, there is a lot of nuance that goes behind this because they do have to like they have to go through the tedious process of like rescinding the actual application, but we probably have a lot of committee meetings about it. So it's definitely not something like they trend #cancel this student on their student web pages and then all of a sudden they're rescinded. I don't think it happens like that. That's the stuff that happens on Twitter, not in school
Yeah,
forums.
it's probably just like a bunch of people from that school submitting reports to the school or something.
Yeah.
Emailing people they know. I think punishment is good and it's cold, but I don't think that college is. I think college is a little bit too harsh.
I mean, yeah. I think that we're coming from a very biased standpoint because
Maybe it's because college means a lot to everybody here.
Yeah, we're all tryhards. So imagining that, you get into your dream school and then it gets taken away because you said one thing, but imagining like that doesn't really address the fact that the one thing you said was something that was very racially charged or really it could be homophobic, it could be xenophobic, it could be any of those things, very discriminatory. If you feel like, because it's nothing that just slips out of your mouth. I feel like that's something that we're ignoring. It's not something that you say accidentally. I like to think of it as if they've said it once, they've probably said it 1,000 times without getting caught. And if you don't want to think about the ramification, if you want to excuse the ramifications of somebody who's only done it once when they were young, think about it for people who do things and then they don't get caught later on. Think about our current Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, where he had many instances of discriminatory behavior, and now he's a Supreme Court Justice for the rest of his life. But did he literally
rape someone?
Allegedly. I mean, we can't say that he did because he wasn't convicted of it, but like he was shown to have very aggressive behavior, to act inappropriately towards women, and none of that was addressed. And now he is part of the conservative court of our Supreme Court and gets to make very, very, very important decisions on legal precedent, within the United States. So, do I want the kid who said the N-word and all these other things to be on the Supreme Court one day? Do I want them to be my surgeon one day? No, I do not.
Someone raised a decent point, I think, earlier, though, about the fact that, like, if I got rejected from my dream school because I said, or, like, I was racist, would I really learn my lesson? Would someone really learn their lesson, or would they become really angry at the school system for, doing that to me?
But I think at the end of the day, we do need to remember, like, a lot of these private institutions, they're just educational institutions, and their main concern is saving face. So in the case that this is threatened, of course, they're going to rescind the student or they're going to take steps towards rescinding the student that, like, did these things. And at the same, like, the entire college admissions process in and of itself is an example of this, because we can't really, like, they admit terrible people all the time. Like, look at all the people that have graduated from Harvard and Yale.
Scandals,
Yeah. So they're like
Donald Trump went to UPenn. So
they're terrible judges of character.
Stinky.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I think it might seem harsh because we're close to those people's ages and we can't even imagine the devastation that would cause. But I think it is also important to recognize that things like that, behavior like that, should be nipped in the bud.
Right, obviously, it's really, really lame for me to say that, but obviously the root of this is bad education from a young age, so we just need to invest more into our education system such that they turn out really good English classes with diverse authors or something,
That's a step in the right direction, too, but
you need to. But obviously that's impossible with the current state of our society.
I actually have a pretty interesting case to bring up, just like, sorry, you can continue.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this real fast because what you're saying is true. Education always can help remedy things like discrimination. But I would say that in my state, we have, I'm pretty sure, if not one of, might be the richest county in America, Montgomery County. They have the best schools in the state, and they're all public. And these schools have so many reported incidents of racism, even though they have literal LGBT courses, something that my county could never even imagine. They have books that are written by Black authors as their main curriculum, something I haven't really seen yet in my high school career. And you still have many, many incidents of racism, even though they're getting the education. So I don't really know what the solution is, the surefire solution anyway.
Maybe not like college rejection, but if you did something because you're saying, right, if they've done it if they've done it now when they're about to go to college, then they've done it like 1,000 times, right? So if you did it in elementary school, you would get some kind of school punishment for it that you can learn from or something.
The way I kind of see it, though, is that this is kind of additional information for the college to, like, because colleges probably, like, why would they take the extra steps to, like, especially selective colleges, why would they take the extra steps to educate a problematic student when they can just choose to remove the problematic student? But then again, like, in most of these cases, they do take things into consideration. But of course, this isn't going to be a good look for them.
Yeah, also, why would I save a racist student who has felt comfortable enough to expose that discriminatory behavior when I could pick a student who is just as accomplished, if not more,
but also is not racist? What a bonus.
Yeah, or even maybe a minority, more, because, like, let's be real.
You get that diversity check, you know?
I wouldn't say the diversity check. I kind of resent that, especially because, like, when it comes to affirmative action, like, people always
there's
say,
a lot of resentment towards minorities. Because
a lot of resentment against URMs.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
And it's just like, oh, you only got him because you're black, and it's like, maybe not.
Yeah, I see that a lot with Asian WeChat parents complaining about affirmative action because it's biased against them. Yeah, you know.
The Asian WeChat, I know that.
Yeah,
I had another case to bring up, though, because, like, one of my favorite Twitch streamers, like, they have this thing where, because they're one of the Tourette streamers, and they have they do a lot of work within that niche, just advocating for, like, better Tourette's resources, better representation of Tourette's people. And, like, because so much of this is, like, emerging now, and because we have so much more insight into the Tourette's syndrome.
Did she accidentally said it?
Yeah, Sweet Anita, she accidentally said the N-word on her stream. And that's like one of her tics. She has, like, a bunch of tics where she could say, she just says a bunch of, like, otherwise
randomly
problematic
swears because it's part of her, like, condition.
Yeah, and, like, in those cases, like, those are, like, definitely hard to tread, right? And that's why, like, nuance is so important.
Then it becomes case by case. Everything's case by case.
It's a very weighted topic, so
it's good that we're talking about it. It's at least better than not talking about it and waiting for other people to do that. I mean, y'all got any other good alternatives than canceling? Or, like, college rescinding, getting college rejection, I guess. I mean, I just think that, like, you know, if I were someone who valued college a lot, I would not make racist remarks to decrease my chance. And maybe there should be more on, like, telling people, because, you know, when you're applying for college, a lot of people are like, make sure to keep all your social medias very clean so that colleges don't look you up. Have you heard that a lot?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right. They should just maybe they should just hone in on that more to make you aware that, you know, colleges are looking out for that. And then it'll be justified for colleges to just cancel someone because they're racist.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, I just think that if we choose to, like, get past whatever it is happening on Twitter, because I know that our generation just has a really interesting sense of humor where, because you know how a lot of these hashtags are like X or Y is over party? Like, yes. It's a whole celebration. And I feel like
people are sweet revenging, you know, they enjoy it. They enjoy being moral high grounded, you know, they enjoy grounding other people because they feel like they're better.
Yeah, and so much of it is coming from a place of fake wokeness, and if anything, that's what I hate most.
What, like performativity?
Yeah, performative. Oh, and I have, like, a whole other, there's, like, this is probably going to end up really long, but there's, like, a whole other thing about, like, certain activists within our current community. They've been called out for a lot of the things that they've faked on their application about their, like, the way that their organizations came to be.
In college apps?
Yeah, on college apps, like, just...
that's literally, like, the game, yeah.
Yeah, that's the game. Like, these two people I know, like Nadia Okamoto, the founder of the Period Movement, if you've heard of that, she's recently been called out for faking her homeless background because she apparently comes from, like, a super rich suburb in, like, Portland or something.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
She faked it on her college app. She's being homeless on her college app in order to get into a high-ranking school.
Yeah. And, like...
Harvard, right?
Yes, Harvard.
Oh, God.
boom, this is somebody that we respected a lot, and now we have all of these allegations of her faking her background, for taking away all of these like organization ideas from like POC creators.
I am looking at their Instagram right now and at their comments, and it is not pretty. I actually saw on Reddit today that a lot of kids, usually rich, they'll do this thing where they like create a website and they'll basically run a fake nonprofit where they like post fake pictures of them donating to kids in Africa and like do the whole 9 yards to make it look like they're actually doing work when really it's all fake and they're not doing anything. And I'm like, if y'all are gonna go through all of that, you might as well just make the actual nonprofit.
Yeah, and like even nonprofit making itself is just becoming such a common thing. Like I've seen people make 200, like at least 200 student quarantine nonprofits since the beginning of the COVID pandemic.
Okay, I've actually like done stuff. I mean, it just goes to show that you can't really you can fake anything on the college if you have enough money.
If you have enough money, yeah, but it can be very dicey because, you know, you have the one admissions officer who, like, makes some phone calls and, like, checks you out, and then...
Yeah. Well, hopefully that we can trust... I mean, do people know? How much do admissions officers know after reading thousands of applications every single year?
They don't. I read
whether which ones are authentic or not.
Admissions officer on Reddit who said that, like, MIT... they'll do this thing where like they randomly check out one thing on your ECs just to see if it checks out.
Oh, then you might as well make up one thing and then don't make up all the rest of it. And then you'll
the thing is, like, from my school, because like I come from a very like it's a really interesting situation because we're competitive but we're not competitive in that like you definitely don't feel it, but application season, everybody's at each other's throats and they're making up all of their ECs.
I don't think our school does a lot of making up, but actually, you know, with the amount of competitiveness our school is, like, we're really gross. I think that we're all so gross by the time that we apply to college applications, we're all just so tired and we want to get through it.
I feel like making up, I feel like exaggerating, I've seen that. And I'm not validating it, but I feel like that's like still like okay, instead of, you know, having like one meeting every other month, let's just say every month. I feel like okay, that's still like tolerable. But if you're making up something like from scratch where you did absolutely nothing, that's bullshit. Like,
I just think that as soon as you do something that's like clearly not within the realm of truth, like even if you're just like wording things deceptively, you seriously have to reconsider why you're applying to that college in the first place. Like if you don't feel like you as a whole applicant, as like your most truthful self, is worthy of going to that college, don't apply to that college. Like I am so put off by the entire college admission system at this point. I really don't care about prestige. I just want to go somewhere that I'm not going to find a place that's free from this toxicity, but I'm going to do my absolute best to find one that's like that.
Maxine, you are speaking to the gospel right now.
Yeah, I can't free myself from it, so I'm still going for prestige.
Yeah, I definitely can't either because, yeah, just in my case, I'm just doing it so I can get as far away from where I am right now as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't escape. My grandma said she's paying for 2 years of my college, and that's a really juicy offer.
It is a very juicy offer.
Yeah, is it worth cutting off my family for?
I mean, once those 4 years are up, or I mean, if you're trying to get a master's or a JD or
I'll probably go get a master's. But I think by that time, I'll be pretty independent.
No, I feel like they're Common App, right? You know how it's supposed to be narrative. Now,
you shouldn't list off your accomplishments in your Common App. That's not good. That's not good, Civ.
No, but I feel like, for example, they have to write a narrative. And I remember I was struggling a lot. And I was like, wow, like I know what I want to say. And it's all truthful. Like, don't get me wrong. It's all truthful. And I don't know how to write it. And then I was just like talking to people. They were like, oh, I made up a story. Like, it's not like they're going to be able to check what happened in my life. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Well, that sucks. Ew.
I've kind of considered the same thing. Well, not considered because I'm not applying to college until next year. But I've kind of thought of the same thing. I do the same thing at my speech tournaments where we have to do impromptu. And I just make up some random story. Like, I remember one time I was like, oh yeah, I had to live in Germany because my dad's military and I was away from my entire family. And I was like, I have never even stepped foot outside of the United.
Okay,
Well, I've never stepped foot in Europe.
much of a lie. I mean a little more like, oh, this happened and I met this person who changed me this way when they never really did that. Like, I
met
had
a
a
woman
friend who had
who
cancer.
changed my life, and that woman's name was Michelle Obama.
Wow.
The general way that this is introduced, like they expect you to come up with this amazing life-changing narrative, but in the real world, nobody's gonna be like, I did this and I looked at the moon one day and this goddess transcended and told me you were destined to go to MIT and that's why you should accept me. Like people, that's what they expect, but at the same time, that's what they say they don't expect. And I just find it really, really weird.
I don't know. Have you ever read the Costco Girls essay?
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, that's famous.
Oh my god.
No,
I feel like
the
we're all
college
just like,
community is so torn about that because like some people are like, did she get in because of that essay or did she get in spite of it?
ooh, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, like you don't want to admit that was a good essay. It was a good essay.
I think it was a good essay that redefined the essay meta, but then people started doing it, and then the meta becomes the norm.
Yeah, it becomes a cliche. I mean, I would say that like people who try to make some amazing story, I know people who have like written about their parents dying or getting shot and then they get rejected regardless. And then other people who just write about working at their first job and then they get in. Now, it gets really hard with these Ivy types because they're like, you guys, I didn't have perfect stats. I didn't, have these ridiculous rewards. I just was myself and I got into my dream school anyway. And then you look at their stats and it's like 4.98 weighted GPA, 1590 on the SAT, 35 on the ACT. And I'm like,
No, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Ivies are a gamble, period. They're all a gamble.
Yeah, don't feel bad if you don't get into them.
Yeah, so PSA to everybody, just apply to schools in the UK. They're cheaper. The process is so much more straightforward. You won't have to deal with any of this essay stuff. Like you'll write like a tiny personal statement, but boom. Or Canada. I love Canada.
Yeah, apply to schools in Canada. Literally, if I were to go to McGill University, which is like the Yale of Canada, it would literally cost the same as in-state at my state school.
Yeah, that's why I'm applying to Canada as well as top schools in the US because like Canada's kind of my fail-safe and it's very good.
I love Canada.
I feel like my parents won't let me apply to out-of-country schools, even though both of my parents only ended up in America because they went to college here. But to each their own. I would just say that, I mean, I don't want to lie and be like, don't worry about prestige. Don't worry about trying to get in your dream school. If you don't get in, then that meant that you weren't supposed to. Well, that sounds very aggressive. It just means that they weren't the right fit for you and you're going to be where you should be. Because I'm going to be honest, probably when I indefinitely get rejected from my dream school, I probably will be very upset. But time goes on. If you're going to be successful, you're going to be successful no matter where you go. So, lying, not showing them your true self, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and going back to canceling, like, so long as you do your best not to be very outwardly problematic, you're probably going to do just fine, even if Twitter decides to, like, take your fate into their own hands. But that's something else. Like, just don't.
A little bit of internalized ingrained homophobia? Is that okay?
Just like a side note, has anyone been on the Chance Me server on Reddit and just seen?
Oh, no, it's. I feel like people are lying about it. I feel like I really want to make a Chance Me though.
No, this one kid was like, I made an app that got 500,000 downloads and I still got rejected from everywhere. Now, keep in mind, he was Asian, so I mean, okay, but like these
are
kids
they all
will
Asian?
say, okay, they're
all
actually
Asian.
not. They're mostly Asian, and it's very, very annoying because I literally have to type in Black, African American to just find like something that will like show me what people who are the same race as me, what type of things they do to get in. Because it's like these people, like this one girl who she obviously got into Harvard, she made this thing like, oh yeah, I passed legislation in my country, not my state, not my county. I passed legislation in my country.
Curing cancer in our college applications.
Yeah, I also like redefined environmental curriculum within my country's educational system. But do you think I'll get into Harvard? Because I have a 4.4 GPA weighted and not a 4.5. And I was like, y'all need to get off the server. I literally had to, like, leave the server because I was like, this is...
I don't know. I think it's... I have mixed feelings about it. I think that those people are obviously people who are very accomplished and feel insecure because they want to at least get some validation before they go to might get rejected from the college they want. And I think,
everyone deserves validation.
What?
Everyone deserves validation when they're feeling insecure.
But the problem is, like, when I browse r/ChanceMe and I see that someone has cured cancer and I feel like I haven't cured cancer and I need to cure cancer in order to get into Harvard.
Exactly. It's like two sides of the coin. Like, yeah, you're like, you know what it feels like to not be sure and secure of where your life's going to be if you can be accepted by your dream institution. But you're also like, you need to stop wearing these rose-tinted glasses, people who go on Chance Me, because it's like, I literally saw some girl who, like, she won all these scholarships. She had perfect stats, took like 24 AP exams, got 5s on all of them. She did the US Senate program. She got to meet Michelle Obama. She got to do all this stuff. And she was like, do you guys think I'll get in? And I was like, dude, I can't even win, like, my school's Black History Day essay contest. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like, people really need to understand that these places are just so self-selecting, like, that it's just bound to be toxic in every single way. And at the same time, like, I've heard from multiple admissions officers, like, they could have applicants like that by the tens, by the hundreds, but, like, more often than not, like, teenagers are terrible writers. Yeah. Teenagers are all about, like, their philosophizing and whatnot. Like, we're not good writers.
Like, I think as someone who... Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I didn't really have anything to say.
Oh, okay. I think as someone who fits the r/ChanceMe stereotype decently, I think it's, like, I understand why they would be doing that. And I feel like I'm never doing enough because as long as there's stuff like the college application and admissions officers are always reading tens of thousands of applicants that are similar to me and have accomplished as much, and they have to pick for which ones they personally root for, it's always going to be a gamble, and you're never going to get that sweet. Because, like, once you go to college, your high school accomplishments, like, they're not really going to matter too much anymore. So people want that sweet validation right before they get rejected, because they probably will.
That's why the essay's so important. But I honestly think that, like, applying to college should cancel and, like, what do you call it? They should get rid of the Chance Me server and just keep up the college results, because, like, the Chance Me server doesn't do anything. Like, you have a bunch of
just people circle jerking each other for their accomplishments.
They are circle jerking, like, ferociously.
Reverse Chance Me's are a lot better, though.
Yeah, it's a bit.
What is reverse Chance Me?
It's like they tell you which
schools. Yeah.
Wait, isn't that what Chance Me is?
Chance Me tells you, like, your chance of getting into the school. Like, I have all these stats. Do you think you can get in? But reverse Chance Me is like,
realistically, this is, like, around your level, but we're not telling you that these are the only schools you should be applying to.
Wait, I really want to make a post with my stats because I don't feel secure. I need validation.
I made one, and they ripped on me for being an international, but they were like, oh my god, you need A. That's, like, all I really needed to see. I'm sorry, you're not getting in.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. You should apply anyone. There's no, like,
you should don't
just
listen.
A good mindset. Just get yourself into the mindset.
These are kids. I remember because, like, I'm the only one out of my siblings who's ever been obsessed about college. Usually, all of them have gone to our state school, and they, like, when I tried to explain the concept of Chance Me to my sister, she literally was like, "So you're telling me high schoolers post their stats and then they listen to other high schoolers about if they'll get into a college?"
Even though this is on Reddit. People can lie on Reddit.
Yeah, like, I was like, this is really an illogical concept. And I think of one person, they made, like, a graph of, like, the actual correct predictions versus what people said people get into, and it was like 60-40.
I mean, ultimately, aren't people just projecting their own insecurities onto the person they're chancing?
Yeah, that's the reason why people respond on there. It's because they The only reason they go on chance meets is like I feel like a majority of the people that go on there are just trying to scope out the competition and then break down their self-esteem and be like,
That
I
is
know that we're
true.
both anxious high schoolers, but let me make you even more anxious. So like I'm at an advantage here, and it's just so gross.
The only reason why I ever got on Chance Me was to find extracurriculars because I literally had no idea where to start at the beginning of high school. And I was like, I did not hear about the US Senate program until I went on Chance Me. Now, like, usually the stuff they'll post is like extremely competitive and no one can probably get except like 500 people in the entire US. But still, it's a good place to kind of scope out opportunities that you would have never heard of regardless. But I would say that it's a very toxic community. I saw one guy, it was incredible. His resume was almost perfection. And he really wanted to go to UPenn. His dream school was Wharton. And these kids, he's Asian, so these kids were sending him death threats. They were sending him Asian slurs, and then they posted his LinkedIn with his phone number, and I think they found what school he went to. And then he ended up having to obviously delete the post. And I was like,
These are the
Y'all
people
really-
that these are the people that need to be questioned a bit more within
these people need to
their
get their
own-
college
yeah,
acceptance
yeah.
letter rescinded, because I was like, this is disgusting, because the kid didn't do anything. And literally people in the comments, because his friend made like a post saying, look what you guys did, now this guy like doesn't want to go on Reddit anymore, and people were saying, well, I mean, I know it's wrong to dox like a 17-year-old, but I feel like it's kind of his fault that he put that much information that people can find out who he was. And I was like, oh
It's
my
just such
God.
a vulnerable time. Like you feel like any move you make can like define your future, and that's like when you put like a bunch of high achieving kids within that mindset, it gets especially terrible.
Yeah, kids are scary. Like, and I can't even imagine, because when you two talk about going to a competitive school, it makes my skin crawl, which is funny because obviously everybody else here, I want to go to competitive college, but I'm like imagining if I had to actively like count my courses, see how many APs I'm doing just so I could beat out a group of kids is like would literally make my head explode.
But also, aren't you evaluated in the context of your school? So if your school is your competition, then you're doing great.
Yeah, but there are also like feeders. Like I know
Yeah.
people that go to my like I'd say my school is our country's equivalent of, let's say, like Phillips Academy or something like that. So it's
Oh,
incredibly
sexy.
competitive. Yeah, it's like
In
very,
your- oh
very
my God.
competitive.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Our school
Nope,
is
nope,
a
nope.
public school feeder for Harvard because I live in Massachusetts. But there's also stuff like Phillips Academy or Boston Latin, like
Westfield
Harvard
or
Mega
something.
Boys.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so nice to know that you guys are rich.
Oh no,
My
I'm on a
school-
scholarship.
Oh my God, so now you're smart. Okay.
No,
Um,
no.
My school is, I've always said this, a typical American high school. We have maybe one person a year or two that gets into an Ivy, maybe 3 people that get, or 5 that get into top 20s. But other than that, everyone either goes to community college, our state schools, or like the military, because I live in a military town. And that makes it very, very hard to like know what I can do, because I live in a small town. So I'm like, what can I really do to make myself look different? And I don't, and the worst
Like
part is that I
this.
don't live in like a place like the Midwest where there's not a lot of people trying to go to Ivy League, like South Dakota. I live in Maryland. Freaking Maryland, where it's like you have people from Montgomery County and Howard County where they actually do go to Ivy feeder schools. The closest we have is this school called Sabrina Park that had like some kids go to Stanford and Princeton, but mostly the private schools, those are the ones that'll like just funnel kids to the Ivies. And they're always sports recruits, which after like the Varsity Blues scandal kind of tells you a bit.
Oof.
My town, while the school I go to is public, so there's no like it's private school fee. A lot of people in my town are pretty rich and come from Ivy or top 20 universities and feed their kids into there from there. And so I feel like a lot of people are lying or exaggerating and or hiring college counselors to help them out write their college application for them, you know.
Definitely like a weird position when you're exposed to these kinds of communities but don't actually identify with the community itself. Like I definitely feel like a fish out of water just being surrounded by all these kids because they don't even need to worry about like most international students do have to worry about being able to pay for their school, but these kids don't, and I'm just like, okay, so where do I find the resources helping me get scholarships when the counselors don't even think we need them?
Mm.
You know, when I watch like college stat videos and they're like, I applied international, no aid, I'm like,
Well,
Okay, then.
so you're not even affluent, you're like wealthy. Okay. That's something I wasn't considering. I can't even imagine like explaining to my parents what the concept of a college admissions counselor is, like a
You
private
paid
one.
somebody to fake your application to make it all flowery so that you get into a big college
pay
that you
for
don't
someone
deserve to
to
go.
edit yourself into sports teams photos and take your test for
Thank you, Olivia Jade. I love you, Olivia.
My parents are like the basic immigrant parents who only think that the two good schools in the US are Harvard and Yale. Like, if I were to get into Stanford, my parents would be like, what is that? Like, you should just go to another school.
Stanford isn't fucking real.
It doesn't
ST
exist, yes.
Anford.
It's Saint Anford, yes. If
Saint
I were to
Anford.
explain to my parents that I got into that and I'd rather go to that, they'd be like, why would you not want to go to Harvard? What is that? Like,
Saint Anford was a beautiful monk, and he loved the Word of God every single day. He kissed the feet of Jesus.
ooh, tasty.
Would be a pretty good U Chicago essay.
Don't get me started. I saw those prompts and I was like, I wanted to apply there because the application's free. But then I was like,
Oh, it is? Oh, worm.
Yeah, but they don't use the Common App.
Oh.
They have prompts like what can be divided by 0 and like if you had to
Nothing.
define your life by a tongue twister and stuff like
Nothing.
that.
I don't know. Yeah. It's really, really weird to know that everyone's like everyone in my town is financially stable. Well, I had to have a lot of like financial anxiety because my dad kept getting really rich jobs and then losing them. He got caught up in the Huawei scandal and then he lost his job like last year, which is kind of like an oof because I thought I had to move. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, man, you got some material. You got some material you could write
No,
about.
that's not. I'm not going to use that. I hate putting my suffering on display.
Oh
Wait.
yeah, I talked to this one girl who goes to Harvard, because she was doing this thing where, like, if you donated to like Black Lives Matter things, I'll talk to you about your essays. And I was like, I was already doing that, but now I can get something for it. And I told her about how like I work a lot, like I work like 20 to 30 hours during the school year, and not like 30 to who knows how many hours during the summer. And she was like, you could talk about that, but the way she was talking about it is if like I had to do it to support my family, and I did not want to kind of lie and make it seem like, you know, I'm working to keep the lights on and keep the power on, because, you know, that's not what's going on. I just want to be independent. And I feel like if you try to do that and that's not actually the case, you know, once they see your financial aid report, then that might be very skeezy to the admissions office.
Yeah, like coronavirus trapped my dad in Taiwan. And my mom is a single mother working for 2 kids. But that's okay. I don't really like my dad. I'm not going to talk about it.
Like
edit this out, and I will not have said anything. Harvard, please don't look at this.
Honestly, like power to that though, because like I really hate when people see something and the first thing that pops into their mind is like, that would be an amazing essay. And like I'm very vulnerable to that, so I understand it, but I don't condone it.
I do things for the essay, but the essay is like just another stone that I can kill. Like my job is to optimize as many stones as I can do. So if I can get good experience, a creative work, something to put on my resume, and then maybe talk about the experience in my college applications, and maybe like, but my goal is just to optimize all the actions that I do.
Yeah, I've always thought like exploiting a hardship, if it feels like exploitation, then maybe it's not something to write about. That's why I when I do things, like let's say when I do speech and debate and I have to pick a piece, I've always never wanted to do a race piece because I feel like you
don't want to use yourself as like the voodoo
and
doll or something
I
like that.
see that a lot, and it always irritates me how like every time you see a piece that goes to nationals with a Black person in it, it's always about racism or the struggles of being Black. And all through my life, it's always bothered me that I could never find acclaimed works that weren't about the hardships of being Black. It was never something about, oh, the character goes on an adventure. They just happen to be very dark. It was always like, oh yeah, slavery, segregation, police brutality. And I still, see that problem today. And that's why, even though obviously like many other Black people, I go through things that suck, I don't want to use that as like my Black card, And I feel like a lot of other Black kids and students who apply to these institutions feel the same way, which is why it's very offensive when people are like, oh, well, you only got in because you're Black. It must have been very easy. Or you only got in because you're Latino. Or you only got in because your parents didn't go to college. Things like that.
But isn't that kind of the point, right? Despite all of the societal constraints that people put on your racial identity, you have to work harder.
You do have to work harder, but that doesn't define your identity, because
obviously people are pegging it onto you because they think you didn't have to suffer.
Not even that they think I didn't have to suffer, they just think that I didn't have to work as hard. Like, you can be Black, because the stigma is that saying that you can get into a school,
your stats still have to be good.
Your stats still have to be good. Like, there are, especially Nigerians and other African immigrants, you still need to get the 35 in ACT, you still need to have the high GPA. People don't think about that. They just think, but I bet you got in with, subpar stats. Was made up for by the fact that you have a hook. And I've always resented that.
Yeah.